I don't know why it does that. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the channel. So, this has been a long wait. We tried to do this and record it a few times, but just even today, I was like, Christine, I was like, I was going to make it today, and I had a very fun and interesting day, and Christine has already kind of brought in some synchronicities for me, which we'll not talk about what it all was and where I'm planning, but I have a big kind of new beginning, let's say, for me that I finally accepted, and I've been putting it off for so long, but I'm going to move eventually somewhere in the world, I don't know, and see where it takes me. But Christine just you really did help me with that. So I want to introduce Christine. She is a tarot reader, and I'll let you introduce yourself. Sorry. You're not just a tarot reader.
Yeah, I do like intuitive tarot card readings and also energy healing sessions. It's primarily on Zoom right now, obviously, but yeah, my website it's higher-heart-healing.com.
And I'll put that in the description below as well for everybody. You also have a YouTube. What's your YouTube channel?
It's just higher heart healing.
Yeah. And I love listening to you because your voice, chatting to you, it's nice as well. But in your videos, I think because maybe it's the music. Do you have a nice music as well?
No,
Because
I don't do music. I'm pretty low tech.
it's your yeah, yeah. And that's what I like about you is you're so authentic. Like you can just listening to your voice is very healing because we're going to talk about the divine child. And that was the first reading I actually watched of yours, and I was just like you were so accurate about it all, and it really resonates with me because the way that you communicate is very similar to me. It's just straight to the point. There's not you the way that you piece things together is exactly what I needed to hear. And I feel like I used to criticize myself thinking like I have to speak a certain way or I have to, you know, for example, I have to know all of the star signs that are linked to that card and etc. And you just flow with it exactly the way I do. So you're definitely an intuitive reader because you just pick up on the energy of you don't need much. You're like me. You just know what you're talking about. And that's what I loved about that. But um do you have anything you want to start off by saying before maybe we talk about the
Yeah, maybe just to give some background as how we connected. So I saw you for the first time on JCK when she did like the 6 hour impromptu live. I think that was in January. And the first thing I saw you, and then I saw your lion, which I know you get lots of compliments on. And then I actually have a lion picture very similar, but it's black and white. And then I just saw your energy and I was like, oh my God, there's something here. I feel really connected. And then I've been kind of following you since then. And it's funny because it's very similar to the interview you just did with Anya, and she was kind of explaining like her thoughts and how she found you, and it was very, very similar. And a lot of the discussion you had with her recently, it's like all the topics that I wanted to talk to you about as well. So I'm like, oh, it feels very. That's what I feel like it is for 5D. It's collaboration is key. I feel like we all have locks and keys inside of us, and they get unlocked when we connect with the soul family and the soul tribe. And
Mhm.
that's what's happening right now. It's online first because of the situation, but it's also good that we're forced to be online because we probably wouldn't have met all these people in different countries had we
Mhm.
not changed the way we do things. So I
Mhm.
just think that's really interesting. And
Yeah.
then when you did, so I was very interested in your energy. I'm like, there's something about him. And then I think it was around when you did the interview with Tomas, and I
Mhm.
saw you both together, and I was like, whoa, I'm like, divine child. And then I sent you a message and I'm like, you embody the divine child. And then that really resonated. And then we kind of had some discussion about that.
Oh my god, that night. Oh my god. I remember voicing you and I was just kind of freaking out because I was having these weird synchronicities, kind of like today. um but I remember you saying it to me and just straight away my higher self was like, "Yes, you need to talk to her." I was like, "Whoa." And I was getting these weird like feelings about the divine child and as if like I was identifying with something that made sense. I was like, because again, you know me and labels, but whenever a label comes in and it's a new kind of energy and it's a new way to me a new way for me to understand it, I do latch onto it because I want to know everything about it and then kind of let myself flow with it. Um, but whenever you mentioned it to me and you kind of explained a little bit about what it was, I have shaman cards in my room. I don't really use them here much. I use them in my room. But the card that fell out was like inner child or something, and it was like a lovely like card of a child, and I was like, okay, so this is going to be a journey. But I haven't really looked into it that much because I kind of wanted to do it the way I always do it and just slowly introduce myself into what it is. Um, but I just want to say, because I wanted to share this, we were talking off camera. You explained like we're going to talk about the polarities of like the good side of it and the bad side of the divine child, but I've realized that a lot of my life I didn't want to do adulty things. Now there is some wounding with that a lot of it I have healed, like the main parts of it. There's still little tweaks here and there. For example, I never wanted to get a license or a car because I felt like that's so adulty and like and no, I can just go be free. And you pulled the full card, and I am kind of a little bit like the fool, um, the good side and the bad side, and you have the star card because she pulled just a few cards before we began, and these are the cards that keep coming up for me, and the star as well. Like it feels like you'll explain that better in a minute, but yeah, I've applied for my license. I need a license for wherever I'm going to go live because it's quite rural. It's not very city like. So I need a car and I need all of that. And then yesterday, I don't know why, but I just randomly was like, I need a shelf. And for me to build IKEA furniture for a start, this is not me. Like my ex used to do all that because anything that is like adulty and like boring, I don't do it. But yesterday, I built a whole like shelf,
Oh, nice.
two shelves, and
Very organized.
yeah, and I was just like, look at me go. I had so much fun doing that. But knowing what you just told me about, like, it wasn't the masculine. It was because I'm quite organized. I'm quite good at the masculine now. I've started to realize it's doing the adult stuff. I don't want to do that. But I did it the other day and I made it into a game. Like I had not a game, but like I had music playing and I was having so much fun and I built it and I wasn't stressed. Like usually if I would do things like that, I would think I'm going to make a mistake or that I'm going to break something. Um, but because I've done so much work on the masculine, I'm like, I feel like I've done it all, like to heal the masculine. And then when you started talking about this, I was like, this is what it is. It's all of these chores and things that I don't want to do, but sometimes they're required and you have to do them. And it's like that full circle of the whole three. Um, but if you want to just kind of briefly explain to people what it is and how to know if you're more aligned and attuned to that energy?
Yeah, this is just information that I kind of feel intuitively and like have pulled from different places, and kind of put together. So don't like just take what resonates, leave what doesn't. We always say that. So I know, like, in the spiritual community, there's lots of talk about twin flame and divine masculine and divine feminine. And that in itself is a bit of a trapping system because it kind of sometimes, if it's not balanced, it can keep people in a loop of like thinking that a toxic relationship is positive when it's not.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of focus on the twin flame stuff like in my readings. My understanding of that is that it's just kind of like the label's not important whether or not they are one or not, because actually a lot of people, they're not on the same earth plane. Like your twin flame could be on a different dimension, so you're actually not going to meet them in this reality. But it's more about just like someone who's like a mirror for yourself, that you have similar traumas and issues and you just work them out through each other. Maybe you'll end up together, maybe you won't. That's not really the goal.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something that's like very talked about, very explored. And then I kept getting threes. I kept seeing a triangle. I kept seeing like a trinity. And I was like, there's another aspect. And then I feel like the aspect that's neglected because it's not as sexy to talk about is the divine child, right? And a lot of people, they talk about like inner child healing, healing your your trauma. I mean, the majority of people's issues, they stem from their childhood. And it's also like there's a normalization of trauma, and it's also, you have to kind of view, like, you have to, it's not just viewing what happened to you through your adult eyes, it's bringing yourself back to like your 5-year-old self, because something that's traumatic for a 5-year-old is not the same as what's traumatic for a 30-year-old. But what I feel is the missing piece to the, so what I want to say is that we all have these 3 aspects within ourselves. One can be more dominant, so that's why some people, they like, it's not about sex, or you can have a same-sex relationship, but women will say I'm a divine feminine, but they also embody divine masculine, so the whole goal is to balance that and then find it in another person for the union. But there's also the divine child, which also has to get balanced and integrated, and I feel like a lot of people just put that to the side and they don't really want to deal with it. But I feel like healing the divine child is the stepping stone before you can heal the divine feminine and masculine. So by not addressing that, you're bypassing that issue and it keeps coming up. That's why you see in the codependent, unhealthy romantic relationship, that's where you have the imbalance. So you'll have like the girl that wants a father or the man who wants a mother, right? Because it's not balanced because they didn't heal their divine child first. But once that's healed, then you can actually have a balanced romantic relationship. And the cards in tarot, so there's just 3s everywhere. So you could have, so I feel like the star is the divine child, then you have the moon for the feminine or mother, and the sun for the masculine or father. And also, I really feel like the Fool card is the divine child, like it's starting the new journey. It's a lot of like innocence. You have the white and the yellow. And if you just wanted to look up, so when tarot card readers, when they read, like when it's upright, usually it's the positive polarity, and when it comes up reversed, it's the negative polarity of the card. So to know if your divine child is healed or balanced, you could kind of see if you embody the aspects of the positive polarity of the Fool card, and if it's not, it's more of the negative. And so like an example of a negative would be like not wanting to grow up, like a Peter Pan syndrome, and he actually looks like a Peter Pan, so it's like running away from responsibilities. And I don't know, do you want to jump in?
No, but that's just, it's funny because like that's me as well in some ways. Like not wanting to get a car or a license, like that's kind of Peter Pan syndrome. But I had worse problems with that and that I've healed, like not wanting to get in a relationship. And then I got in one and it was quite horrible. But I think as well that this is an element to it, is that if you are more, because there are people who are stuck in their childhood and not in a good way, meaning, the narcissistic energy where they're being bratty and they just think it's me, 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 and they didn't learn how to grow up and to have compassion and all of that. So that's like a negative side to someone being trapped in their trauma from their past and they're not wanting to heal it. But there's me who wants to heal it and also go back to it and bring it out into my adult life, because I'm like, okay, I know how to tap into this now, and I want the whole world to live like this and to be like who I am. But again, we all have our kind of gravitation to one, like you said, but we are meant to balance all of it by surrounding ourselves with people that are, attuned, like for me to have a friend that is, the more masculine energy, or organizational kind of. I have a good balance of people around me now because I've started to be more aware of it. But I noticed with relationships and in general, I don't feel like I need one. And I think that that's okay. I think that if a relationship was to come along, I would be happy for it, but I just don't feel like I need one. And I think that that's like an element to it as well, as Claudette said this to me in a reading before, but she was like, your bullshit detector is on having a marriage and a relationship and kids and everything, because I'm I'm a child at heart. Like I like to just be free, but again, I see myself being very like the fool card, and it's a little bit annoying because the fool is a little bit triggering for me, because we start out in that energy always, but I kind of am there a lot of the time where I'm like, okay, the the most simple thing that I could do to change things, and I'm being stubborn about it, and I'm being like, nah, not doing that. That's too adult for me. And it's like, blech, I have to fill out a form. Are you joking? No, not doing that. Like, these things are the things that trigger me, and it's adult kind of stuff. It's things that we're supposed to be doing to get on in life. But how can you like explain to people the best way, like the let's start with the negative first. um what is it that you can kind of explain to people about how they
Yeah.
can
So I
understand?
feel like the negative is like like a predominant divine child person that, but it's not grounded. So it's like, so when you actually are a child, you're very free. So like the positive characteristics, and if you have a lot of these characteristics, maybe you would identify as a divine child. I feel like it's people that are very connected to especially the elemental kingdom, like the fairies, the forests, the trees, people who like to travel and have adventure.
Mhm.
They could have been labeled as ADD or autistic or those type of things. They're very positive. They speak truth. They keep things simple. They don't really understand our 3D systems. They like to, I was seeing the visual of like, they like to take things apart and examine how they work. I don't know if that's something you've done. Like I just saw the visual of like someone like, taking apart like a computer and like looking at all this stuff because they want to see how it works. And of
You know what I
course,
want to say, sorry, because this is just something that hasn't been really said, but you're saying it now more or less. But when I look at, right, there are obviously there are things that are different, but like some of those things are caused by different medications and different health things
yeah,
and
of
blah blah
course.
blah. But with children that have these learning difficulties or whatever, if they have autism or ADD or whatever, it's all the same thing. Their energy is, when I look at it, it's the same. They're just
They're extremely
pure.
tapped in.
They're so tapped in. Like when I used to work in a school, and they would be like, how do you just, because I used to say, well, I was labeled ADD. They're like, what do you mean labeled it? I was like, well, that's not who I am. Like, I'm just me, and these kids are just who they are. They're just more tapped in. And like when I would use words like that, they'd be like, what do you mean tapped in? I'm like, oh, fuck's sake. So these labels that were given to these children, it kind of just is like, that's or that's divine child energy there. Like, that's what it is. They
And
see,
the label is a trapping system to
yeah.
suppress,
Mm-hmm.
and the medication is to suppress the gifts.
Mm-hmm. It's just like, it's weird, and it's good though, because we're starting to talk about this more and more and more, and people are starting to realize that we need to be more like those kids. in
Yeah, so
in
those are,
aspects.
yeah, those are like the aspects of like the positive that you have when you're a child, and then like the programming, the systems, the labels, that kind of like dims your light. So then a lot of them will probably have like depression and anxiety and issues, maybe like self-medicating, in their teenage and early 20s maybe, until they kind of have a rediscover, hopefully they have a rediscovery of who they are. And then to stay like, so to not have it get like distorted, the energy has to get grounded.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why they need like some structure. And it's funny because of the star card as well, like she has one foot in the water, one foot on the earth, and then there's also the star. So it's like the heavens, the divine masculine, the father, the ground, the mother, divine feminine, and then also like the earth plane, I feel like, is the divine child. So it's like it can't be two in the air and it can't be two in the ground. It has to be kind of balanced.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's not, that's where you would get like lack of motivation, like depression, being very scattered, like not like it needs to be, there needs to be an outlet, and it has to be grounded and also like appreciated, which, so that's why people who maybe they have a lot of childhood trauma to heal, or that's not very balanced, that's why they're going to be gravitated towards people who do embody that, because it's healing them.
Mm-hmm. And it's funny too, because you can kind of look at this as well and see, like, when I see people's energy, it's easy to, like, sometimes I don't even have to really say more than just, you need to ground yourself, because
Yeah.
time and time again, people are up in fairy God knows where, and there is so much that they can pull in and make reality, because that's what it is. When you're up here, you pull whatever you want in. You can take whatever idea, thought comes in. But if you're not grounded in if you're not here, it's not going to manifest. It's going to manifest in a way that you don't want it to manifest, because if you're not balanced, nothing's going to come to you in a natural or organic way, because you're basically saying, I don't want a body. I want to go now. When you're up here in your thoughts and you're in the sky, and the, like, when way up there, it's usually, well, first of all, they're not grounded. So they're having root chakra, kind of that energy, is something wrong there, or even say, like, it's just the lower chakra energy anyway, because it starts there when people are up here. And when people are not up here, it's because they're either too stuck in here and they're not dealing with stuff. But when you think on it, you just made me think that the heart space is where the divine child is. Is that right? I just feel
For
that.
me, so it's two things that I got when you're talking. So I feel like they're not grounded. It's because the way they were labeled, or the way they were working with like society structures, they didn't like, no one understood or appreciated them, and they didn't understand the 3D structures. That's
Mhm.
why they didn't want to be grounded. But as we come into 5 Earth and people are more accepting of like, more fluidity, and like, you know, you don't have to do a 9 to 5 job, you don't have to do all this stuff, like different lifestyles are accepted, then I think that's going to be easy, allow the divine child, people who embody that, to like ground more, because they're not going to have an aversion to it, they're actually going to want it.
Mhm.
And for the chakras, yeah, everything leads to the heart, I think that's the big one. But I was getting more, I think the 3 predominant ones, and that's the predominant ones that are really like important right now. It's the heart, the throat, and the third eye crown.
Mhm.
I was feeling that the heart was more like the feminine, and then the crown, the third eye, was more like the masculine. But the child is in the middle, which is the throat, and that's connected to speaking, like truth.
Mhm.
Children
Mhm.
always speak truth. And then the systems are the things that suppress it. But all 3 of those chakras, I feel like they're all intertwined and all interrelated. And
Yeah, like for me, for example, chakras do so many different things to
yeah,
the colors that I see. Like, you see the colors, like the usual chakra system that you would see. But I try not to label it, because people have opinions on that. But like, some people think it's layered and it's whatever. I just go by energy. And when you tune into the energy and you meditate and you go into those spaces, like, you can learn a lot, because they're literally portals. They're energetic portals to help you understand different aspects of yourself and the universe. Like, for example, I was doing a reading, and I seen how the sacral, and just down there in general, like, we came, like, we literally came from our mother's womb, which is it's literally like a black hole. Like, we literally just came out of the darkness into the light. And I literally think we're all talking about the crown, okay, which is, crown for me is the sun, because the whole corona, is the crown, is the plasma around the sun, this new light that is coming in, and it's the awakening. And it's basically, we were basically coming in on a cycle into this dimension until this has been, like, stopped. And that's as well essentially what the 5D is now. We are kind of being brought up to the crown to realize who we are and that we don't die and we don't consent to things that make us sick. We are divine, sovereign beings. And I think that this is really, really important for people to understand is it's like the whole reincarnation thing. I get it, but
I
it's
just wanted to show you this graphic. I don't know if you can see it. So it's the tree of life, and then beside it, it's like the placenta. So it's showing that we're connected. And then it's also showing that, so your umbilical cord is your connection to like your mother, your earth, but then you also have the silver cord from your navel, which connects your physical body to your etheric body. So when the silver cord is cut, that's when you transcend to the next like reality, like you go back to source.
Mhm.
And then it's also there's also a picture of the human lung, and all the like veins and arteries in the lung are this. They look exactly the same as the tree branches.
Mhm.
So like we breathe in what the tree gives out, and the tree takes in what we exhale. And I find it really interesting how it's all the lungs, and that's kind of, you
Mhm.
know, lungs
And
also represent like grief and sadness, and it's kind of interesting how that's been suppressed over the last year and a half.
yeah, like
That's
breath
like the
work
growth.
is
Yeah.
breath work releases trauma. Like it's the best. I say this to people all the time when they're like they're like feeling heavy here. I'm like, breath work, because it's usually grief. It's usually grief. And when you do breath work, the amount of times I've cried doing breath work has been so therapeutic. And you, because you study shamanism, you probably know even more about that. Can you actually explain a little bit about, is it holotropic? I just do it holotropic. Have you ever tried it?
No, but I can say that water or liquid in the lungs, like if you feel or you see that psychically, that's grief. So if you get
Okay.
people that have a lot of heaviness in the chest,
I
and it's
see
also
that.
kind of connected to the heart, and every emotion or trauma, it passes through the heart first. It always goes through the heart first. That's why it's so important. That's why you see so many people with like a broken heart, not just from romantic situations, but just life in general.
Mhm.
Um, and the principle kind of like of the healing that I do is that everything starts with a thought becomes a feeling becomes an emotion. And then if it's not treated, like you keep having these ways of treating it, but if it goes unchecked, that's when you get physical manifestation of dis-ease in your body.
Mhm.
But everything passes through the heart first. So that's why a lot of energy healers, when they do a session, they always are drawn to the heart first, and then it goes to another area.
Mhm.
Myself, when I do a scan, and lately, usually for everyone, it's always something with the head, which is something about their third eye being closed, belief systems, always something in the throat about not being able to speak their truth, always something in the heart about pain that has to get released. And
Mhm.
then usually I get something in the lower body connected to an organ, like whether it's the liver, the spleen, the kidney, something like that. And all of the organs can be traced back to different, like all the organs and chakras, they all represent something. So you can get more information intuitively for your healing depending on where it presents.
Mhm. And I'm actually learning more and more about, because I'm so like, I've shown this before. It's this book. I've like butchered it because it had all the, like I cut like all these pages out. Oh, you can't really see, but it's these symbols. And like, for example, this one here, that is the thyroid. Okay.
Yeah.
And this is it's the frequency. That's the name of the book. It's by Abraham Karim, biogeometry. But this is a very logical and confusing book. So if you're not feeling drawn to it, don't just buy it for no reason, because it's not that easy to understand. But I don't know why. Like I never even thought that I would be into biology or the body or anything. But for some reason I'm drawn. Whoa, sorry, just when sometimes there we go. Sometimes when you get a humming coming, but then sometimes you get that where you feel like like you're about to collapse. I
That's
don't
a
know
good
what
thing for
that
you or
was.
not? Is that a good thing?
It's a good, it's just every time I touch that
That
book, This is what I mean about that book. I don't know. It's like my higher self is like, because I had an idea that I'm not going to share yet of how I kind of want to implement that into my life to help people. And it's basically trying to create a product that people can wear or use. That was the thing that keeps coming to me because um those symbols, like for, I don't know how we even got onto that topic. How did we get onto that topic?
Oh, it's all connected. So there's energy healing, things can manifest in your body, in your
Yeah.
organs.
And I started, example, I started using these around the time when I was blaming different people for, I got caught up in that again. I was blaming different people for things. And for example, I wasn't really eating healthy at the time. And I was just like blaming my mom or whoever because they were, and it was just so stupid. It was so petty and it doesn't even matter. Like I keep thinking that it matters, but it doesn't. What matters is, am I happy? Am I happy? And am I blaming other people for things that is my own problem that I'm not dealing with? And I was just like really fed up. And anyway, I started using that book, and there's a symbol in there it's angelic support. And I put it under my pillow, and I shit you not, it started to bring up things, and I started to see the shadow. I started to have dreams that were very much clear to me about what I was doing. And I think this is the easiest way for people to let go of things and to move on and to start changing things in their life, is to be responsible. Anybody, especially like people get triggered by me all the time. And I would say you're the same, like you trigger people as well, because we have that kind of truth about us. When like when you speak, or sorry, if I say something that's triggering you, it's not my fault. It's your
Exactly.
fault. It's always your fault.
It's our responsibility to use discernment and try and be gentle in our message, but it's not our fault if something we says triggers someone.
Yeah.
If
There's a
you're
difference.
triggered, if you're triggered, that means there's healing to be done. So they should be thanking us.
Yeah. Exactly. But there is, though, I'm not saying that this is not like, you can't just be a dick to people. No,
Exactly.
be kind. I'm a kind person. I'm saying the truth. I'm telling it like it is. I'm not going to lie to you because lying is not in my realm of reality. So, but there is gaslighting. And that's a good term for people to understand what that is, because a lot of people do it. And it goes unnoticed as well, because again, you have a polarity of all of this where people think that, that
Or you have a narcissistic type person, so you speak truth and then they flip it back onto you like there's something wrong with you.
yes,
Like I made them feel bad or I made them feel attacked. No, that's your feeling based on what I said through the lens of your own trauma.
exactly. And I think that that's a good thing for people to realize is, are you getting triggered by someone all of the time, but you also feel like you don't know who you are, and that they make you think that you are crazy for being upset about something so small, or it doesn't matter. It's like, you feel how you want to feel. And if they're not hearing you and they twist everything around, then that's gaslighting. There's a difference. For example, if someone says that I triggered them or whatever, I will try my best to kind of say, okay, this is my perspective, and I'm sorry that you're going through this. Like, I'll try and calm the situation down to make sure that you see what you're doing, what you're not seeing for yourself. But people who gaslight, they just like switch it to like, it's like, I don't get it. I don't understand how
Yeah, so
people.
our job is just to recognize those people. Like if they're in our personal lives, we have to detach, send them
Mhm.
love, but just detach. And then either it's all vibration and frequency. So either they're going to do their own healing, and like when you say higher and lower, it's not a negative or positive, it just is. Frequency has different levels. So
Mhm.
they're either going to have to rise up to match you, or the difference is going to be so great they're going to leave your life. And I feel like that's a collective thing that it's so funny, the word shedding, how it's kind of a popular topic in our community. But I feel I got the shedding and I got the snake like 6 months ago. And I'm like, that's what it is. It's a shedding of all these old people and things and beliefs and programs that are not going to come with you in 5 Earth or 5D Earth, New Earth.
Mm-hmm.
They might, like, I think you're going to see a lot of people reconciling, like, because the people that left your life, maybe they needed to, it's going to take them longer to learn and awaken to things. So there is going to be a lot of reconciliation, but there's some people who are just going to, like, you're never going to see them again.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest.
Yeah, but the way that this all happens, though, I want to say, is it's all natural. Like, we're not going through an easy time, but this is because we're healing the divine child. We're
Mm-hmm.
healing the child. We're going to talk about this now after, but we're healing that now. So this is why it's not easy, because people only really will heal their wounds and their triggers when their children are affected, or if they don't do that, the universe is going to bring up their wounds from their childhood through the stuff that's being exposed to do with the children. Because when that stuff comes up, it triggers people, and some people are forgetting things that happened to them or happened in a different life or whatever. But it's still, as a collective, we're healing the children. We're healing the children within, we're healing the children outside of us. It's
And
all about it.
the reason why stuff with children, the majority, it hits a chord with the majority of people, is because that's a collective wound. We all have the collective wound of loss of innocence. So when we see pain towards a child, it hits something in us.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you're familiar with Gally Lucy.
Yes, I love Galilee.
Yeah, I think she was saying, she's kind of talking about what's going. I'll talk a little bit in code, but she's saying, like, things happening to an old person, no one really cares. Things happening to a 30-year-old, no one really cares. Things happening to, someone in another country, no one really cares. But then when it's your child, your children in your environment, then people care.
And even at that, it's still taking some people a little bit of time to care.
Unless it's your child. So, I mean, I believe that there's the life plan. So I feel like this might trigger people as well. Like, I believe that you choose your family, you choose your parents, the parents choose you. It's all like soul contracts that are done before you incarnate here. And then some people, I think it was Catherine Edwards, she asked her the question, so what, because we always talk about everyone has a choice. So what do you say for children that don't have a choice when something like a medical intervention is imposed on them? How is that their choice? And then I think the answer she gave was, it's the lesson for the parent.
And so many people think that they need to help their children, and it's coming up more and more and more. And every time I tap into this, the child is here to teach the parent.
Exactly.
It keeps coming back. And I think maybe not like 30, 40 years ago it was like that. But the kids that are coming in now, they're like, sort your shit out, mom. Sort it out, dad.
I think it's
like,
around the kids born 2000 and after. So they're like 20-year-olds now, but.
And even like my nephew, he doesn't have like he doesn't have autism, or he's not like super like he's not super sensitive, but he's still sensitive. And I'm noticing this with all kids. They're showing like, oh, don't touch, or like they're like, he doesn't like, if you try to hold his hand, like I'm trying to help him down the step and he's like, oh, don't touch my hand. And like they're sensitive, and like noise, and like, ooh, and he's like psychic, like he can just see. But they're all psychic. All the kids of today that are coming into the world, they're just so tuned in, and they're like, they have their complete version that's gonna keep going forward. Like they're ready, they're prepared, they're like just waiting for us to like tune in.
And they can recognize us. So it's happening to me more frequently. Like kids are just coming up to me. Like I'm somewhere and a kid will just randomly come up to me and like hold my hand. Because they are gravitating to our energy.
I have that all the time. Like I was telling you, I was visiting people today, and their little girl, like I barely seen her at all while they were home, but just straight away she's just like staring at me the whole time, and I'm like smiling, and it's so like weird because I can feel their like how and their energy, and like I have the same match, and it's so nice to know, like, in this room of all these people talking about, like, the whole
Surface stuff.
yeah, all that stuff, and I'm just like, she doesn't have a clue, and she doesn't give a shit about it, and she's the happiest little girl in the world, and I'm like, I have your energy. I'm just like so tuned into that, and I said this before, and I'll say it again: is we came into this world with 5D consciousness, all of us. We just, because of the system, we forgot, but we had to descend to bring it to a point where it is through the throat now, where we've never really had like speak your truth or information.
Even the phrase "speak your truth" is very loaded, and it's not understood.
Mm-hmm.
Speak your truth, to me, it means be authentic. It doesn't mean spitting out venom and calling that truth.
Yeah,
Like if
like
you're
cancel culture.
yeah, or attacking somebody,
uh,
that's not speaking your truth. That's you projecting your trauma.
yeah, and that's going straight back to when people do cancel culture and they call people out, you're blaming other people.
For how you feel.
Yeah, like you
Your
just,
trauma.
yeah, you're just like, oh, I cancel culture when that was a thing. Is that still a thing? I don't even know. But when people started doing that, I was like, what is going on here? Like, this is ridiculous. But
Well, it was another program and a suppression. It was like, don't speak your truth, because if you do, this is going to happen. So it was kind of like a cautionary tale to kind of try to suppress people.
mm-hmm.
And the whole PC culture and politically correct and progressive, and like the other attack on the children is this whole mixing of the genders and
Mm-hmm.
allowing children to choose their genders at like 3 years old and have surgeries.
Mm-hmm.
That's just like, and then if you have someone who says, no, this is crazy, stop, they do a cancel culture on them and say they're not progressive.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, so it's just,
it's a joke. And I because okay, I want to ask you, is there any like advice that you can give adults? Because I get a lot of parents that are worried about their kids, and how can you like explain to them that it's okay, or whatever you want to say, whatever you think you want to say? Because I feel like a lot of parents are worried about their kids, and I don't mean to sound rude, but a lot of parents project
exactly.
their fear onto their kids because they're scared of the world changing.
Exactly.
And it's okay to want to help your children, but you need to help yourself first.
Yeah.
Because the kids, sounds bad, but I'm just gonna say it because whatever. If you project onto your child, you're making your child sick, because your child is
Exactly.
going to take on your energy because they are innocent and they don't know how to understand the boundary of that. So if you project onto your child all of the anxieties and all of the fears and all of that, go on to them, and they have to transmute that or store it until they're ready to transmute it.
Yeah. And especially like vibrationally, and especially more now, I would say, than in the past, because the kids are so in tune with their, you want to call them empath or whatever, they're so in tune with it, they can feel things. So like if you have a couple who is fighting behind closed doors, well, the kids are picking up on that and they're internalizing that trauma, and they're probably going to have relationship issues and trust issues into adulthood. That's just what it is. So
Mm-hmm.
I guess it starts with the parents being authentic, and living their truth and living their best life, and not staying in toxic situations. And then it also comes to listening to what your children have to say. Don't suppress it. So that was the huge thing, is like when children in the past were like displaying psychic gifts, like imaginary friend, or I see this, or that was suppressed. So don't suppress that. It is real. What they're seeing is real. And even if you don't believe that it's real, just go along with it and honor them.
Mm-hmm.
That would be the second thing. And then, yeah, don't, it's like you need to instill, like, you kind of have to teach your kids at a age appropriate level, like about, well, it's very unfortunate right now because you can't really trust law enforcement or the teachers right now in this society. So you have to teach kids to say no, basically, taking them out of the mainstream school would not be a bad idea, especially now with what's going on.
Well, I'm
Um,
just saying, if I did have kids, they would not be going to school. They would
yeah,
not be. No, I wouldn't do it. And
it's funny because myself, I always wanted, like, I still do want a child. And I always had this, like, oh, I need to have it by a certain age, and, like, and then it didn't happen. I mean, I still want to have a child, but not in this mess. I want to wait till things clean up more. So I kind of feel like it's a divine intervention. Like, I want to bring a child into, like, the real new earth. When, because to be honest, I wouldn't know what to do with a child right now. And I have so much empathy and sympathy for parents that are struggling with so many things being thrown on them. Like, school's not safe, government's not safe. They're being, like, we had a story in Canada that they were actually giving children ice cream on the side of the street to have them get a jab
that's
without
sick.
consent.
That is sick.
Yeah.
Maybe don't say the JAB word, because
Okay.
I don't know if that comes up.
No, Jabberwocky.
Jabbo. But that's disgusting. And I cannot believe, like, they're doing lotteries for that thing as well. Like, and people are going, and people think this is funny. Like, it started off with donuts. I was like, you're all a crowd of fucking donuts. What? Anyway, this is part of it. It's part of the thing that triggers me. And I like to let that out sometimes, because I'm like, it's fine, Joe. It's going to be fine. Because,
And part of it's also, so, like, one of the trauma responses is, like, people pleasing. Like, there's a lot of people who have the good girl, good boy syndrome. Like, they want to people please. They want to be submissive to authority. They don't want to rock the boat. They don't, because they're just afraid of, there's two things. There's the fear of death and there's the fear of not belonging. If you got rid of those two things, we would be a lot more advanced and healed in society. So what's going on right now is playing on those two things very much.
yes.
And it's almost like, not to be rude, but it's almost like a Stockholm syndrome. So there's people that they don't want to step into their freedom. Like, they like their shackles and their bondage, and they don't want to. They don't want to. So we have to just accept that for some people.
To be honest, we've had to hold a frequency for a lot of people who want to stay in their own bliss of ignorance. Ignorance is bliss. They want to stay in that and think that everything is just fine. None of this stuff that's being exposed is real, and none of my, like, they're just, we have to keep holding this frequency for people because they don't want to look at stuff. You have to look at it. If you don't look at it, we still have to wait. We have to wait because we're all in this together. Like, until a certain point when the scales tip, because I keep seeing this moment of when the scales tip, and it's easier for people to process the information. But it's really difficult at the minute because people are just fully polarizing and trying to pull it. It's like, I just feel energetic. It's like, no, we're not going to expose all this. No, I'm not ready.
That's the child. That's the wounded child.
Yeah. And I'm like, I'm already living in paradise and I know all the bad stuff that's happened. I've known about it for a long time now. If you just come here with me, I will hold you and make sure you're okay. But neither of these people know how to communicate. And it's true. I don't even know how to communicate with these people who are not able to see the truth, because I try and say something, they fight back, and then I fight back because I'm sensitive and I'm just not going to put up with it. So and then I have to then look and go and deal, and it's like, take myself to the naughty chair and be like, okay, why did I react to that? Okay, well, I can't really change their opinion. And then I'm having to counsel myself while they're out there having a great old time because they projected onto me, and I had to go and sort it out again with myself. And this is the cycle of what children who pick up on that is, they go to their room and they sit there and they think, what did I do wrong? Why is mom, what's wrong with mom? And why does she think I'm, and then they start to feel unworthy and they start to feel safe and So it's like, because we were living in a society that was like that, where just everyone's projecting their shit on each other and their parents were projecting, blah, blah, blah. Now we're in a society where you have to heal that as adults, as leaders, as whatever you want to call it, as these royals who are unroyal to me, um, because there was information came out about that in Canada. We're not going to say, you can kind of say a little bit about that, but this was old news, and I heard about this a long time ago. But what?
Yeah, just to summarize, so in Canada, where I'm from, we have there was the residential schools, which started in around the mid 1800s, and it went all the way up until 1998, believe it or not, where it was basically like they were taking all the native children and they were trying to indoctrinate them to, forget about their heritage and stuff. I have a quote. I'll just read it. It's pretty profound.
This is not a conspiracy theory. This is actually stuff you can
No,
Google.
this is true. The government's done an inquest and everything.
Yeah.
So this is a quote from Bishop Saint Vital Grandin in 1875, and it's the goal of residential school. We instill in them a pronounced distaste for the native life, so they will be humiliated when reminded of their origin. When they graduate from our institution, the children have lost everything native except their blood. So it was basically to disconnect them from their true selves. There was lots of abuse, sexual abuse, experimental medical things were done. That's true. And it was really brought to the mainstream in Canada about 6 years ago. The government did a whole inquest called Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Children.
I remember hearing about this, that I'm going to word this carefully. The little old lady in England and her little old man that's gone now, they went out there, and when they went there, those kids were gone and nothing was said of it until now. And this is all the stuff that people have been saying for the past 2 years publicly and been told to shut up, and we're being suppressed. But you can't stop this from getting out now. This truth is coming out.
So the event that you're talking about with those two people, the place where that happened is where in the mainstream they've just discovered 215 remains of children, and that was in the mainstream news a couple weeks ago, and that's causing a lot of trauma for everyone. But it was funny because I heard on the radio, they were saying their little, oh, this is so horrible and traumatic, and then the person that was being interviewed was like, yes, I understand, but this is not new information. This has been in the mainstream for 6 years. So it's like people like to have these events. They kind of like, oh, we'll light a candle and do some stuff for a week until it kind of disappears, and then I don't really have to think about it again. But I feel like this is kind of, you're just going to kind of see more and more and more of this, and the reason why it's so traumatic for people is because it's triggering their own trauma.
And this is what I think why we're bringing this up is, when you heal within, whatever is happening outside of you, it's easier for you to deal with it no matter what comes up. Because I do not like seeing the stuff that I have seen, but it healed stuff within me. And some of us kind of base our life on helping others. So it's kind of essential that I have to go through my own traumas and things. Like, I have to have the experiences so that I can hold compassion for other people, because compassion is not what people think. Compassion is about giving them the truth, not rubbing their back and saying it's and not like just people just ignore other people's problems. It's like, for me to give you compassion, I have to tell you the truth. This is what is wrong, and you need to fix that yourself, and come back to me then, and I'll help you again. But the biggest thing that I don't do is, when I am telling someone what they need to heal, what they need to work through, and they come back and they tell me the same issue again. This is the problem that's kind of now in society at the minute. It's like people are just, all this information is coming out, and they're trying to just talk about it and like get it off out of the way. Like, oh, I don't want to deal with that. Oh, did you hear about that? Blah, 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 blah. And I'm so confused because I'm hearing all these people talk the truth, but then you talk to them a few days later and they're just doing their same shit they were always doing, because it's, again, that's speaking the truth, but just kind of projecting it off of you. So you don't have to deal with it. So we can see, if I'm with someone and they speak for a little while, I can see where they are at, but we can't see people doing the work, and it's not up to us. We have our own stuff as well to go through with everyone else, so that we can keep holding this frequency to keep raising everyone up together. But if you don't start to look into the depths of your soul, you're going to find the stuff that's going to keep coming out more and more. You're going to find it really, really difficult. And we want um everyone to be gentle with this. Don't go in, and this isn't like go in the deep end and find out all of the information. Don't do that. That's difficult.
That's why the whole notion of red pilling people, I don't agree with.
No.
Information is learned, not told. And I feel like it's kind of put in your experience when you're ready for it.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, people have had a lot of time, and some are not getting it. So it's going to start getting louder and louder. And it's like the floodgate of information is happening.
Yeah, it's like some of us did the whole red pilling thing, and we went in the deep end, a lot of us, and it triggered the shit out of us, and we were like, fuck it. But we either way,
It had to happen.
it had to happen. And that's what's going to happen to people who just refuse to look at it. Like,
but at least we had the luxury of looking at it and then going back to like normal life.
yeah,
where it's going to be a collective.
Yeah, where
that's why we have to be strong to hold space for the people when they're going to go through it.
Yeah, but some of those people are going to turn extremely
angry.
And we need to be away from them, people. Because
that's why we're having the shedding already.
Yeah. Yes. It's all divine. The way it's all happening is there are some people that are so evil that maybe don't know all of it, okay? But when it all comes out, like, we can't have a society. There will be a period of time where people are really angry and they're just want to project it onto something. So there will be like,
well, it's the stages of grief, right? It's anger, denial, acceptance.
Yeah. And when we look at it again, this is why we've been prepared divinely by God, even if it was the whole hoax thing. Doesn't matter. Everything's divine. So even if that was the negative side of it, the positive side of that is the people like us who needed to be here to hold the frequency and to learn and keep moving and trying to keep positive with it. Okay. Because it's a lot of information, but if we keep high and we look after ourselves and realize we don't really need anyone else because we've done all the work and we've realized all I need is me, not in a selfish way, but that's the truth. That's why people get triggered about being like doing things for yourself or thinking about yourself as if it's selfish. No, that's what society is programming people to think, so that they don't look after themselves. When this whole pandemic thing for me has been about learning how to love myself. And now I can love everybody else. And whenever this information comes out and all of these people are going, like, because all the pubs are opening up and alcohol and etc., we're going to be at home still. Nothing's going to change for us because energetically we're not resonating with that lifestyle of going out, getting back to normal, etc., because that lifestyle is going to bring up a lot of trauma. People are going to be angry. There're going to be fights with alcohol. There's going to be riots and shit like that because people are going to go back to normal. But those people are the people that are suppressing it, that don't want to deal with it. They're trying to go back to a world that doesn't exist anymore, and it never will. It'll look, for I don't know how many years, it'll look like everything's normal. This is the illusion that people are under now.
I think that percentage of people is about the 20%.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's probably another 20% that are kind of like us. And then there's the 60 in the middle that are kind of coming over slowly, one at a time. And that's why everything has been so slow. It's because we don't want to have this mass chaos and riot, right? So as much as it frustrates us, it's kind of slow by design.
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
and that's why you're seeing the two worlds. There is two worlds simultaneously. So the people that are going to gravitate towards hockey games and concerts and pubs, that's kind of like, okay, stay in your little 3D distraction. And
Yeah.
then the other people are going to kind of go out in nature. I want everyone to be in nature, but it was funny because when everything was closed, nature was busy, and I'm like, hey, why are all these people in my nature?
It was so weird.
It's
Like
funny
it's
because they opened up some stores for us last week, and then it was like a beautiful Saturday in a beautiful place, and it was empty because the second they opened the stores, everyone went shopping. I'm like, really?
it's so weird. Like um I what was I gonna say? I forget. I was gonna say I wanted to say this before. Um Another thing. So you know about like our birth certificates and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So if people don't know what that is, it's basically like our birth certificates. We are basically. Can you explain this better? Because
I don't really know all the ins and outs about it, but all I know is that you're kind of your name is kind of like sold and traded the second you're kind of birthed, and you have like your birth certificate and your social insurance number, and they kind of bet against you. So like they kind of like if you get divorced and stuff, they like get more money out of that. I don't really understand how it works, but there's something about they're causing our trauma and also like profiting off of it.
they're the spiritual way of explaining it, like because I'm not good at the 3D version of explaining what it is, but the spiritual way to explain what it is you're born into this world, into a system that basically sells your soul into a like it's that cycle of reincarnation that is not organic because it's just the way it's going. We're being taken into this system to then keep coming and reincarnating into their system that takes our life
And
force.
that's interesting because I think JC was one of the first ones that said that the reincarnation trap is lifted, like the souls are kind of waiting to go to the next level.
Yeah.
And then it was funny because I was watching that Dolores Cannon thing that she shared, and that's what Dolores Cannon was saying. It was like the ET helpers, they can't help us because that's interference. But then what they did is that they put the special star seeds or whatever you want to call it to kind of like infiltrate from the inside out to help raise the consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then those people apparently, when their mission is done, they're going to kind of go back to source. They're not going to reincarnate.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I've seen that with so many people. But anyway, I myself, I did not want to do this, but I found myself now. What I'm doing is I'm going through the process of ascension on the 3D version or the paperwork and all of that, where I'm actually claiming back my sovereignty. I'm doing a course that I can't really talk about now because it's ongoing and I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. But for some reason, my higher self is making me do this because whenever I'm able to talk about this properly and I know what I'm talking about, because for some reason I'm drawn to claiming back my sovereignty because your birth certificate is a death certificate because we're lost at sea. That's
Yes,
so much lingo and
all the
language.
language is about the water.
Yeah, and it's so
Corrupted.
corrupted and it goes back to Babylonian times and the way that's Babel language that how they manipulated everything through word magic. Um and that's why innocent people go to jail because they're fighting a system that they can't fight. They cannot fight it because of the words and the contracts and the way that the whole thing is. I hope I'm not saying too much. Fuck. But yeah, I'm going through this whole process now of claiming back my sovereignty. Um, and I think I told you about I felt the timeline shift. Remember we talked off camera?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's also partly what this has to do with is I have never felt more grounded in 5D consciousness than I have this past 2 3 weeks. And it's because can't I can't go back at all anymore, but I can be there and hold space.
Yeah.
Like I can be surrounded by people who are in that opposite to me.
And that's mastery.
Yes. And oh, thanks. I didn't even think of it like that. But yeah, I actually have. I've mastered it now because I can sit with those people and be happy for them because I know that they're good people. And I know that some of them will not go forward, but that's something that I like. It's different because in 3D life, that's the way it was anyway. Some people were just gonna die. But in a 5D sense of it, consciousness wise, we're meant to live a lot longer. So I'm like, oh well, I'm gonna live a lot longer with these people, these friends, and eventually they're gonna get it. And sometimes just being in the presence of people and holding the space helps them more than you can imagine. Like I do think that there are some people that I've been hanging around recently and they're just happier in general. And I do think that they're taking on information a little bit easier than, have you noticed that? I just
Oh
feel
yeah, for
some
sure.
people are taking it on a lot easier than maybe 6 months ago. So we are progressing a lot.
And some people are asking questions now, like if you post kind of like truth or content, it's like actually gets liked and shared, and you're like, okay, cool.
Hmm. Hmm. But it's so funny when you see narcissists are getting more crazy by the hour.
Yeah, because the difference in vibration and frequency is so great that it's just like stirring them all up. They're getting cagey. They're getting like
They're getting crazy. But this is the thing that I don't like. It's like they're getting crazy to a scary point. It's like
yeah, but they can just stay in 3D, like, or they would be more the 4D people. You know how the 4D bridge is like where you have everything,
yeah.
but once you're in 5D, they can't touch you.
That's the thing. This is the thing. This is the thing. Like when someone who's at that energy now, I still sometimes will get tricked a little bit. Still will get tricked, but it doesn't last long. And I feel like I'm having my last little challenges with that. But I'm once you've mastered that, you are free from it all. And I think that the divine child energy, that's what it's been attacked with the most, is the narcissistic manipulation. And that is what's being taken out. So there's all different layers for everyone to understand what it is all about. Like it's good versus evil, yes, but then you have narcissism and empaths. But then you also have like divine or toxic masculine, toxic feminine. And now you just bring in the divine child, and it's like at the core of the whole thing,
It's the child.
it's what it's all about. And it's that inner healing with that. Which like you just brought, it's like you give me the last little piece of the puzzle that I needed to just be like, okay, I get it now. I see exactly what this is all to do with. Like, because I knew it was all to do with the children, like obviously. But when it's like the most obvious thing, the divine child, but I never would have thought that that was a thing. Do you know what I mean?
And it's also simple because we are kind of conditioned that, like, you know, a medical intervention has to be all complicated and expensive. It's like, no, eating a lemon is going to help you. Like, you know, it's like people they think that things have to be complicated because that's a program in itself.
Mm-hmm.
But like returning to nature and doing things simple, viewing your reality through the eyes of a child, that's kind of like where your healing is going to begin.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Okay, I could chat to you for
Yeah,
another hour. But I just want to kind of end it here, and we will do a part 2 of this.
cool.
Because I want to you're at the minute you're learning, you're doing course, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm in a 2-year shamanism program. So I've only finished like 3 out of 16 courses, but I am trained in Reiki, even though, you know, I don't really resonate with Reiki, but that's kind of like the entry point of every kind of energy healer.
It's literally like this book. I don't even know why it's there. It's like the closest thing to me right now at the minute. Because I just put everything on the shelf yesterday because I was like so tired after building it. But like this book, this Reiki book,
I feel like Reiki is like 3D energy healing.
I never read it.
Yeah. Because
Because
I always thought, it's about this guy in Japan and he channeled all these symbols. And I always had that thought, well, how do we know where these symbols came from? And how do we know they're good? And how do we, I always kind of had these, I just did Reiki because that was what was available to me. And no offense to any Reiki masters, there's great ones out there. But I feel like it's a bit limiting. I feel like it's the stepping stone. Like, yes, learning about your chakras and your energy system, that's fine. Do that. But there's so much more to that. And we're at the point where it's time to develop your own healing, like take different aspects of different modalities, make it your own, channel your own symbols. When you're with the client, what does the client need? They might not need like I just see it as like you just pull from different things. You just pull from all your toolboxes and then you just kind of give it to the client. And we don't heal anybody, we just facilitate their own healing. Like, it's choice. The actual person has to heal themselves. They just need someone to facilitate and hold space. And that's what we're doing.
And and that's that layer again to it. It's until we get to a point where everyone realizes that you are your own healer. But this is why we are very much needed in.
So I think that the beds that start with M, I think there are some of those physically that are going to help people. It does work on consciousness, but the big key that's going to be revealed is that you have the power to heal yourself. That's what it is.
Yeah, and I think that we are going to slowly help people understand that, because to be honest, I still find it difficult to heal my own stuff, because I'm like,
you're too close to it. So that's why you need a third party to kind of bring it up for you, like trigger you, and then kind of facilitate it.
Yeah, and the thing is though, I have such a strong trust in my higher self and my connection with my higher self, and I'm like, you do what you got to do. So I kind of trust my higher self to heal me when it's the right time. So that's another layer to it, is you might want to heal something right now, but it's not the right time to heal that thing right now, because there's a lesson attached to it that you have to go through. So there's so many different layers to it, and it's kind of like taking a step back and being like, okay, what does my higher self want me to heal now? That is when the healing starts for me always. Is like, okay, there's this stupid acne here, this stupid spot that won't fuck away. Like it's just there all the time now. And I'm like, and I was literally trying to, the other day, I was trying to send energy to it, and I was just like, my higher self was literally looking at me like, why are you doing that? It was just like, I don't know why, I was just like, because it's such an ego thing to be conscious of a little bit of acne.
Yeah. Well, anything with the skin is usually anger.
Yes, and it is. See, I am.
It's by your throat, the speaking.
Yeah, but this is the frustration, but as well, I am getting anger put on me.
Totally.
And it's coming, and because I take
because
it.
you're speaking.
Yes, and because I take people's bullshit. Like at the minute, I'm just deleting comments. I don't get comments on YouTube, but sometimes I get messages and emails and stuff, and they're just like, "Oh, you said this and it triggered me," and "Oh, you said that," and I'm like, ugh. And instead of responding, I don't have the energy. I'm just like, delete. But I don't do a proper cleanse. Yes.
Yeah.
I don't always do that, and then because of that, I feel like that's partly what it is. So it's just, and I'm getting better at that. I almost have a daily practice with that. Some days I'm not.
Well, you can put up energetic shielding and stuff as well. And
Yeah. Well, I have my whole home is thank the lovely Joanne Dunn. She gave me a whole gridding thing, and since that I have put that up, I put it around my whole property, and I've not really had any major issues, little things here and there, but like, sorry, I just heard something. Sorry. I'm getting the, as I talk, anytime I talk about Joanne, my dragon, I just can feel the energy come in, and I'm like, sometimes I feel it, and then I heard creaks, and I was just like, "Oh, what's that?" And then I just was like, "Oh, it's the dragon."
And that was the connection to, remember we were talking about dragonflies? Dragon.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Oh my God. Okay. So much to talk about, but are you doing readings at the minute?
Yeah, so I'm offering at the moment live, like virtual readings on Zoom. And I'm also doing like energy healing sessions on Zoom. So you can book either of those with me on my website, higher-heart-healing.com.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, because people are running. I'm quite booked out. So Christine is like, if you've watched up until now, book a reading with her because you resonate with her energy. So because a lot of people are messaging me, and we can only help so many people. We're only one person. We do everything on our own. Well, you work for yourself, don't you? Like, you don't have help at all.
Mm-hmm. Well, I have a day job also. I'm not my only source of income, but yeah.
Because like this year is like changed for me, because another thing, like I have to do emails, I have to do like stuff behind the scenes, and I never thought, like, again, that's I'm going off.
Maybe you need an assistant.
Yes, but I feel like I don't need one. I think I just need to step it up a notch and just be like, okay, you don't want to do adult things again. Like, you just want to do readings and like magically have them upload and like put up in the description and all that. But yeah, I will do the adult thing, and I will link all of the information for Christine down below, and you can all go and check that out. And if there's anything that you want, maybe linked to shamanism, or you want us to elaborate on anything else that you think we could go into more depth about, because I do want to bring Christine on again, as I want to organize to talk to you again, just to get chatting about shamanism, because
and I think before that, maybe we can do a session. I'll give you like a energy healing session, so you can kind of like experience what I offer, and then that'll be kind of like open up more things to talk about.
Yeah, because shamanism is something I'm so interested in. I just never read a book on it. I just kind of do little things here and there that are very
well, it's kind of like mystified. It's kind of like it's intimidating for a lot of people, but it's really just energy healing.
It's not, that's why I have to have you back on, because
like energy healing, but kind of like another layer of it, and it's very connected to the earth and like plant medicine and animals and
and like when people think on shamanism, they think on
someone in the jungle doing ayahuasca.
Yeah, an old man with a beard. Like, no. It's just, well, to be honest,
I can't get that. I want to do that at one point, but
yeah, I'm still like a divine child. So I will enjoy my youth while I have it. But if there's people who have that projection that they're like, oh, isn't that people who do ayahuasca? And like, and I'm like, no. But
I'm actually afraid to do plant medicine. I think I'm going to do it at some point in my life, but I have this fear block around it. That's why I want to talk to you about mapacho at some point as well, because whenever you talk about that, it really like activates me.
I love plants. I love plant medicine. I don't fear it. That's the difference, because my friend, she's someone who doesn't like to let her control go. And I think that because you are letting yourself go and experience what the plant is kind of taking you on, like they're taking you on this journey to experience life in a different way. It's like a multi-dimensional kind of,
and a plant is just a different consciousness. So in the Dolores Cannon that I was watching, she was saying like we have had lifetimes as like a rock or like a plant. So like that's why we're all connected, because we were that.
Yeah.
Like, oh.
And And
Sense.
people think that that's like, oh, how could you live a life as a rock? But like, it's a different thing. Like, it's so,
Exactly.
and at the as well, like when I look at that, we are still that. We are all one with all of that anyway. Like, we had a past life, but when I think on past lives as well, it's like, well, it's all intertwined. It's like
Exactly.
when I experience a moment with my rock or my crystals or whatever, it's like an energy that I'm familiar with that resonates with me at that time. So that is either a part of it is a part of me. It's so confusing, but
Yeah, because they all offer different medicines. So
yeah.
when you're connecting with rocks, you're taking on the rock medicine. When you're connecting with crystals, it's the crystal medicine. Like it's different. Everything has a medicine to offer, but it all comes in nature. That's why nature is important.
Yes, and it's so fucking fun to just play with these energies to help understand things. Like that's what shamanism is all about. It's like working with it to understand
Exactly.
things.
Yeah.
Like, no, I don't like this is a thing for me. When people try and use their past lives all the time to like heal trauma, I'm like, how about the times when you remember a past life and it's like, oh my God, I did that. I was a naughty little bitch.
And also the past life thing is cool, but it's also like some people also get attached to that as well.
Yes.
Oh,
And
in a past life I was this and I was that. It's like, okay, well, what are you doing in this life?
yeah, they attach to it as if like, and that's why I found it really hard because I have seen a lot of my past lives and some of them have been so like, whoo, that they're trying it's like they're in my head a lot and I'm like, no, I don't want to think about that. Like what I'm doing this in this life. It doesn't matter what that was or what I did
But
there.
it's connected. So like when you're doing something in this life, it's connected to your past life, which is really a parallel life. That's why they say when you do healing of yourself, you're healing 7 generations behind you and in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like the reason why it's coming into your experience because you're doing something in this life, which is healing that, or something from that life lesson is resonant with something in this life. That's why it's connecting to you. That's why we're having the collapse of the past, present, future,
Mm-hmm.
healing all of our old trauma so we can step into our future selves.
And that is the thing I forgot to say about me claiming back my sovereignty with the whole process that I'm going through at the minute. Because the lady, I didn't really get to speak to her much. She does like a Zoom thing, but the course has already started, so I don't think anyone can join it. So whenever it's started up again, and I'm no more information, I'll let people know if you feel called to. But what this is once I get the paperwork and all of that done, um, and it's to do with blood as well because it's my DNA. There's a very spiritual aspect as well as going through the courts and stuff like this. But whenever I get it back, I heal all of the shit behind me. I will heal my family. I will heal everything. So because there are different people are finding out more and more about this, but this group, who do this divine sovereignty thing, because I'm still only like I've only done 1 week and I was like I didn't do the things I was supposed to do, so I have homework to do. But basically sorry, my mother is looking in. She's so annoying. She's waiting out. She's every time she looks in at me, she's being, am I still working? And I'm like, oh, I am literally, this is YouTube. The first time she's done this is a recording for YouTube. But anyway, um, I forgot what I was saying because she distracted me. What was I saying?
Oh, the divine sovereignty class, you have homework.
Yes. So whenever, like, basically, whenever I'm able to talk about that more, I will, because I still don't know enough about it. But I was just so drawn to it because I was feeling um different people had different ways of doing it and how to do it and whatever. I don't understand the whole process as of yet, but all I know is my higher self, every time that these people speak, and it's a woman and a man and another few people, it's like a group of them came together to help a lot of people do this. And every time that they speak about it, they bring all layers of it. So they bring the spiritual, they bring the 4D, which is all the fucking fuckery with the magic, and then they do the 3D as well, which is like the courts and the law and all of that, and the corruption and all. So that whenever I knew that whenever I was like I got into the course, and my ego was trying to pull me away from it, and like that's when I know that I'm supposed to be doing something, is when I am feeling like restricted, or I shouldn't be doing it, or what am I doing, who do I think I am, or whatever like that. When those things come up, I'm like, I go, and my higher self goes, yes, that's your ego. And of course it's my ego, because this is the most important thing I think I've ever done in my life, is to claim back my rights. And when I have this, the courts cannot touch me, because I'm not in their system anymore. So I can't wait till I can say that I have it all done, because I feel like in time, more and more people will have an easier process with that. It's like how we are going through things now with the information and stuff. It's like whenever a few of us step up and start taking back our sovereignty in this way, it's going to ripple out, where everyone is told about this information, and they're like, apply for this to claim your sovereignty back, because it's been stolen from you from the get-go.
Exactly.
And it's just going to be a thing that everyone has to do.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
but I feel called to just do it now. And I tried to push it off. I was like, nah, I'll just wait for the time, when everyone else is doing it, and like everyone's talking about it. But yeah, I found myself now in the process of doing it, and it's my biggest nightmare, because it's all the stuff that has to do with like going and getting my birth certificate. Like I looked through my box the other day, and I opened it up, and it's all like spilled. The ink is all destroyed. So I have to go and get my birth certificate, and then I have to go and get this thing and that thing and this thing. And the system they've made it so difficult, because they don't want people to do this. You have to send it there and this and that and do this and blah, blah, blah. And it's literally going to take me 10 months, I think. I could be wrong, but the course goes on for a couple of months. No, 10 weeks, I think, maybe. Sorry, not 10 months. I don't know. But I think it's 10. Well, I don't know. Anyway, I'm blabbering on. I feel like I forgot that we're still recording. I'm going to stop it now.
Okay, no problem.
Because I could talk to you for like 2 hours. But we're going to say goodbye now. Is there anything else you want to say, Christine, before we go?
I would just say, like, I liked that question because Anya brought it up, and it also piqued my interest when you said it, is how do you want to be remembered in these times? So people, whether you're conscious of it or not, this is like the most amazing time ever experienced on this earth. So the question I think you should all ask yourself is, how do you want to be remembered? What did you do? And like do you want to be like, oh, I spent the time watching Netflix? Or do you want to, like, this is a time to really go within and work on yourself, so we can step into our future. Like 5D is here, like let's call it in, and let's be like, for me to answer that question is, I just want to be remembered as authentic.
And isn't it funny, that's been me, because when I listened back to me and Anya, it was the same thing. I said it that way and she said it in a different way, but when you think about it, it's being authentic. And and now that you're the third person to say that. And I'm so glad that I don't even remember what video I said that in, but it's been received so deeply, because it's so true, because we think so far into that question, or like in general, like, what do you want to do with your life? But when you think on it, what do you want to do during these times? It kind of brings it down to you're not so overwhelmed, but you're like focused in on like, okay, all of this is happening, but I'm ready now to take back a little bit of my own.
Well, when we transition from the earth plane, I do believe there is a life review. So it's kind of like, I want to remember all the good times. I don't want to have too many cringe sometimes.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what I'll be doing. I'll be like, I want it all. No, I'm joking. But yeah, that's all for now. We will be back hopefully soon. I will be in contact again with Christine, and I can't wait to have my healing session. It will be so I just anything to do with understanding myself, I'm all for it. So thank you so much. And I'm gonna stop recording now.
Okay, thank you.
You're so welcome. Bye everybody.